20 years of marriage, a milestone most couples celebrate with quiet dinners, nostalgic trips, or perhaps just a toast to making it through 2 decades together. My wife Rachel and I. We decided on something bigger, a group boat trip with our closest friends. It was supposed to be a romantic getaway, a chance to rekindle whatever had started to dim over the years. I should have seen the signs earlier. Rachel had been distant for months, pulling away in ways that were subtle but undeniable. Fewer touches, less laughter, more nights where she fell asleep facing away from me, as if the space between us was exactly what she needed. I chalked it up to work stress or just the natural ebb and flow of a long marriage. The boat trip was my attempt at fixing things, a way to bring us closer again. But instead, it shattered everything. The first night on the boat was filled with drinks and laughter. The ocean breeze was warm, the water calm. I should have been happy. But something was off. Rachel was glowing, not in the way that made me feel special, but in the way a woman does when she's excited about someone else. I caught her stealing glances at her phone, smiling at messages she never shared. Then, after midnight, I got up to grab some water from the small kitchenette. That's when I heard it, her voice, hushed but urgent. "I can't wait to divorce this loser. I've been faking my love for him for 5 years. I can't wait anymore." Everything inside me froze. The walls on the boat were thin, and whoever she was talking to was just as eager. A man's voice, low and confident, responded, "Soon, baby. Just hold on a little longer." My stomach twisted. I wanted to burst in and confront her right then and there, but I couldn't move. I stood there, gripping the countertop, breathing through the gut-wrenching realization that my wife, my partner of 20 years, had been lying to me for half a decade. My hands were trembling as I forced myself to follow them. They slipped toward the back of the boat, the part that was supposed to be private. My bare feet were silent on the wooden deck. And then I saw them. Rachel, on her knees in front of him. My vision blurred with rage. I didn't even think. I just moved. I was behind him in an instant. In one quick motion, I grabbed the closest thing I could, a heavy-duty fishing knife left from earlier in the day, and held it to his throat. He barely had time to react before Rachel gasped, yanking away in shock. And in that moment of panic, she did something neither of us expected. Her teeth clenched. There was a sickening, muffled scream, and then the blood started pooling onto the deck. He collapsed, howling in agony. Rachel fell backward, hands over her mouth, eyes wide with horror. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. But then something unexpected happened. She looked up at me, not with guilt, not with remorse, but with terror. And she whispered, "Oh my God, he's not the one I was talking to." I blinked. My grip on the knife tightened. "What did you just say?" Her hands were shaking. "It's not him, Daniel. It's someone else." The realization hit me like a freight train. I had just ruined this man's life over a mistake. But if he wasn't the one, then who was? And worse, where was he now? Rachel and I met in college. I was studying engineering and she was pursuing a degree in marketing. She always had a way with words, charming, persuasive, able to make anyone believe anything she said. That was one of the things I loved about her back then. She was magnetic, the kind of person who could walk into a room and own it without trying. I was the opposite. Quiet, analytical, always thinking a few steps ahead, but never the type to be the center of attention. She made the first move. I was tutoring in the library and she sat across from me, pretending to struggle with a statistics problem I later realized she already knew how to solve. That was Rachel. She played games even then. But I fell for her hard. We built a life together. 2 kids, a daughter, Emily, who just started college, and our son, Lucas, still in high school. I worked my off, climbing the corporate ladder, making sure my family had everything they needed. I wasn't rich, but we were comfortable. Every paycheck, every late night at the office, every sacrifice, I did it all for them, for her. And now, 20 years later, on the back of that goddamn boat, I stood there, knife in hand, realizing that none of it meant a damn thing, because she wasn't even cheating with the guy I just maimed. The man on the deck, clutching himself and groaning in agony, was Tom, one of the husbands from our friend group. Not my best friend, but someone I'd known for years, someone I had drinks with, someone I invited into my home. Rachel was still in shock, shaking, hands covered in his blood. "You're lying," I said, my voice like gravel. "I swear to God, Daniel, it's not him." Her breath was ragged. "I wasn't talking to Tom on the phone. I don't even—" She gagged, looking at what she'd just done, but I wasn't buying it. "Then who the hell were you talking to?" She hesitated, and that hesitation told me everything. "Rachel." I took a step toward her, lowering the knife. "Who?" The way her eyes darted around like she was still calculating, still looking for a way out, made my blood boil. Even now, after what she'd done, she was trying to manipulate the situation. That's when I heard footsteps approaching fast. Someone must have heard Tom screaming. The first person to round the corner was Jake, my oldest friend, the guy who practically introduced Rachel and me back in college. The same Jake who had been acting weird around me for months now. My stomach dropped. No way. His face twisted in horror when he saw Tom writhing on the deck. Jesus Christ. And then he saw me, and then Rachel, and in that moment, his face gave it all away. Rachel wasn't looking at me. She was looking at him, and the look they shared. It was pure, raw fear, a different kind of fear, the kind you only feel when you're caught. "Jake," I said, my voice low, deadly, "tell me you had nothing to do with this." He didn't answer right away. He was too busy staring at Rachel, silently pleading with her to come up with something, anything to save them both. But she couldn't. Not this time. So he ran. I barely had time to react before he turned and bolted toward the other end of the boat, shoving past people who had come out of their cabins to see what the commotion was about. "Motherfire!" I took off after him. Rachel screamed my name, but I was done listening. Jake was fast, but I was running on 20 years of betrayal, fueled by a rage I didn't even know I was capable of. I closed the distance quickly as he reached the opposite end of the deck, looking for a way out. "You cheating piece of sot!" I lunged, tackling him to the ground. We hit the deck hard, and he groaned as I drove my fist into his ribs. "You were my best friend." Another punch, this time to his face. My foxing best friend. People were shouting now. A crowd was gathering. Some were trying to pull me off him, but I wasn't done. Jake tried to fight back, but I was stronger, angrier, and I had nothing left to lose. "You had my wife," I spat, gripping his shirt, slamming his head against the deck. "Did you touch my kids too, huh? Were you playing uncle while you were fucking their mother behind my back?" His lip was split, blood running down his face. "It's not what you think, man," he wheezed. I punched him again. "Don't lie to me." Rachel was crying now, pushing through the crowd. "Daniel, stop! Please. Why?" I turned to her, breathing hard. "So you can keep your little secret? So you can keep playing the doting wife while you screw my best friend?" She was sobbing, shaking her head. "I was going to tell you, I swear." "Yeah?" I let go of Jake, letting him slump to the deck. "Then why not tell me before our fucking anniversary trip?" She didn't answer, because we both knew the truth. She was never going to tell me. She was going to drag this out, keep me as her safety net, let me keep paying the bills, raising our kids until she was ready to trade me in for an upgrade. Ultra injustice. That's what it was. I looked down at Jake, the man I once considered a brother. "You don't deserve to be on this boat," I said, stepping back. "Neither of you do." Rachel wiped at her face. "Daniel, please. Think of the kids." "The kids?" I let out a bitter laugh. "You mean the kids who are going to find out their mother's a liar? That their uncle was stabbing their father in the back for God knows how long?" She opened her mouth, then closed it, because she had no defense. I turned and walked away. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew one thing. This marriage was over. And when we got back to shore, I was going to make damn sure she regretted ever thinking she could play me for a fool. I sat in my cabin, staring at the ocean through the small window, my knuckles still raw from pounding Jake's face in. My body was buzzing with rage, betrayal, and something worse, an emptiness that I couldn't shake. Rachel was cheating on me for 5 years with my best friend. But one question kept gnawing at me. Why? I needed to hear it from her. I needed to know what went through her mind every time she looked me in the eyes and told me she loved me, every time we sat at the dinner table with our kids, every time we made love. So I went looking for her. She was in our shared cabin, curled up on the bed, still in her dress from earlier. Her makeup was smudged, her eyes puffy from crying. When she saw me, she sat up almost hopeful. "Daniel, please just let me explain." "Explain?" I slammed the door behind me. "Go ahead, Rachel. Explain to me why you've been screwing my best friend behind my back for 5 fucking years." She flinched but didn't look away. "Was it the money?" I asked, voice cold. "Because I gave you everything. Was it the thrill? Did you just want something new? What?" Rachel swallowed hard. Then, finally, she spoke. "You were never enough for me, Daniel." I actually laughed, a hollow, humorless sound. "Wow, there it is." "You were a good husband," she continued, her voice trembling. "A good father, but you were predictable, boring. I felt trapped in this ordinary life. Every day was the same. Work, kids, dinner, bed, and I wanted more." I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to put another hole in the wall. "So you destroyed our marriage because you were bored." "It wasn't just boredom," she snapped, suddenly defensive. "Jake made me feel alive. He made me feel young again. Special." "Special?" My voice was eerily calm. "And I didn't." She hesitated. And in that moment I realized the truth. She never loved me the way I loved her. I was just the guy who provided stability, who worked late nights to pay for her dream house, who raised her children while she fucked my best friend. And for 5 years she looked me in the face and pretended. Something inside me snapped. "You know what, Rachel?" I took a deep breath, my hands steady now. "I think you should get exactly what you deserve." Her brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" I turned and walked out, a plan already forming in my mind. Nuclear, fucking, revenge. The boat was docked tomorrow. By then, my plan would be set in motion. I started with Jake. The bastard was still licking his wounds in his own cabin when I knocked on the door. When he opened it, he actually had the nerve to glare at me. "What do you want?" "You." I grabbed him by the shirt and shoved him inside before he could react. "Sit the fuck down." He did, warily watching me. I pulled out my phone and started typing. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, not looking up. "You're going to tell Rachel you're done with her, that it was all a mistake, that you were drunk, whatever the fuck you want." Jake scoffed. "And why the hell would I do that?" I turned my phone around, showing him the screen. It was a draft email, addressed to his wife. With every explicit photo and text message I had pulled from Rachel's phone while she was sobbing in our cabin. His face drained of color. "Jesus Christ. You break up with her, or this goes to your wife, your boss, your kids," I said, voice ice cold. "Do you really want your family seeing you balls deep in another man's wife?" He swallowed hard, sweat beading on his forehead. "You have 1 hour." I stood up. "Make the call." And I walked out. Rachel came running to me an hour later, her eyes wide with panic. "Daniel, he just broke up with me. He said it was a mistake, that we need to stop seeing each other." I pretended to be so concerned. "Wow, sounds like he was just using you." She looked lost, completely blindsided. "Good." "But he said he loved me," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Guess he lied," I said, shrugging. "You should be used to that." Her lip trembled, and for the first time in our marriage, I saw her for what she really was. Pathetic. Final phase. When we docked, I had already sent copies of the evidence to Jake's wife. By the time we got off the boat, she had already kicked him out, frozen their joint accounts, and was filing for divorce. Rachel, she thought she still had me, that we could work through this. So I hit her with the final blow. I served her divorce papers right there in front of everyone. She broke down sobbing, but I didn't stay to watch. I walked away, because for the first time in 5 years, I was free. And she was finally getting exactly what she deserved. Rachel thought she had lost Jake. She thought she had lost me. What she didn't realize yet was that she was about to lose everything. The boat docked at sunrise. The second we stepped off, reality came crashing down on her. She must have thought she could still salvage something, our marriage, her reputation, whatever was left of the life she so carelessly burned to the ground. But I wasn't done, because Rachel didn't just cheat on me. She robbed me of years I could have spent with someone who actually loved me. She humiliated me. She turned me into a goddamn joke behind my back, and now it was my turn. Phase 1. The Grand Unveiling. I had timed everything perfectly. Rachel barely had time to collect herself before we got to the hotel where everyone's luggage was being sorted. She was probably planning to pull me aside, beg, or maybe twist the story into something where she was the victim. But as we entered the lobby, she froze. Because standing there, waiting for us, was Emily and Lucas, our kids, and they weren't alone. Next to them was Jake's wife, Stephanie, and behind them, a goddamn camera crew. "Mom?" Emily's voice cut through the tension like a blade. Rachel turned white. She turned to me, panicking. "Daniel, what did you do?" I leaned in, close enough that she could hear the venom in my voice. "I told the truth." Rachel spun back toward our kids, her face twisting into something desperate. "Emily, Lucas, sweetheart, I can explain." But Emily stepped back. Lucas, he didn't even look at her. Stephanie crossed her arms, eyes cold. "You're not talking your way out of this, Rachel." Rachel turned to me again, begging. "Please, Daniel, not like this. Don't do this to me." "Do this to you?" I laughed, shaking my head. "Rachel, you did this to yourself." Then I pulled out my phone and hit play. Rachel's own voice filled the lobby. "I can't wait to divorce this loser. I've been faking my love for him for 5 years. I can't wait anymore." A gasp rippled through the crowd. I turned the volume up. Jake made me feel alive. He made me feel young again, special. Rachel collapsed, right there, in front of our kids. She dropped to her knees, sobbing, shaking, completely ruined. And I just watched. Because for the first time in 20 years, I was the one in control. Phase 2. The total destruction. But I wasn't done, because Rachel's affair wasn't just an affair, it was financial fraud. See, while she was busy fucking Jake, she had also been funneling money into a secret bank account. How did I know? Because I had hired a forensic accountant. And now, I had a folder full of evidence. I turned to Stephanie. "Would you like to do the honors?" She smirked and threw the folder at Rachel's feet. Rachel blinked, confused, her hands shaking as she picked it up and started flipping through the pages. Then she went still. Her eyes darted up to mine, wide with fear. Real fear. "Daniel." Her voice was barely a whisper. This isn't what it looks like." "Oh, it's exactly what it looks like." I crossed my arms. "You embezzled over $75,000 from our joint accounts and tried to hide it under household expenses." Stephanie scoffed. "And let's not forget the credit cards she opened in your name." Rachel's lips parted. "Oh, you didn't think I'd find that." I tilted my head. "Did you think I wouldn't notice when you took out a $20,000 loan using my credit?" I was going to pay it back," Rachel pleaded. Things got out of hand." But I wasn't listening. Instead, I turned to the camera crew, the local news station Stephanie had contacted. "Would you like an exclusive?" I asked them. Rachel's scream of rage echoed through the hotel. Phase 3. The final blow. At this point, Rachel was done. Her affair was public, her financial fraud was exposed, but I had one last trick up my sleeve. I pulled up my phone and tapped on a video, then I held it up to her. Rachel's eyes widened, because the video was from our home security cameras, and on the screen, Rachel and Jake, in our bed. The footage was time-stamped multiple occasions over the years, all while I was at work. "You were never careful," I said, my voice calm. "And now, I have everything I need for a divorce settlement that leaves you with nothing." Rachel broke. Right there, in front of everyone, she collapsed into hysterics. But it didn't matter, because I was already walking away, divorcing her, taking full custody of our kids. And Rachel, she was left with nothing. The aftermath. The fallout was brutal. Jake's wife took him for everything in their divorce. Rachel was left broke, humiliated, and completely alone. Our kids, they cut her off completely. I moved on, happier, stronger, free. And Rachel? She spent the next few months begging me to take her back, but I never looked back, because when someone shows you who they really are, believe them, and make sure they pay for every fucking second of it. Rachel thought she had hit rock bottom. She thought I had already taken everything from her, her reputation, her affair partner, her finances, and worst of all, our kids. But she didn't know one thing. I wasn't finished. I had one last move. And when I played it, it would ruin her forever. 6 months later, Rachel was living in a tiny apartment on the outskirts of town. No fancy house, no luxury vacations, no lavish shopping sprees. All of that was gone. She was working a dead-end retail job just to keep the lights on. Jake? He was nowhere to be found. After his wife took him for half of everything, he skipped town, leaving Rachel completely alone. She had tried to reach out to Emily and Lucas, but they weren't interested. Our daughter had blocked her number. Our son, he had one conversation with her, and when she tried to blame me, he simply said, "You did this to yourself." I could have left it at that, could have walked away. But Rachel had taken 20 years of my life, so I had one final lesson to teach her. The final blow. I waited until she was barely holding it together, then I made my move. Rachel had one last thing she cared about, her public image. She was still active on social media, still pretending like she was some strong, independent woman rebuilding her life. Posting pictures at restaurants she could barely afford, sharing motivational quotes about overcoming adversity, acting like she hadn't just been completely destroyed. So I made sure everyone saw the truth. The package. It arrived at her job during peak hours, a bright red envelope with her name written in bold black letters. Rachel opened it in the break room, surrounded by co-workers. Inside was a USB drive and a single note. "Enjoy the highlights." She plugged it into the nearest computer, and the second she did, the screen lit up with Rachel's greatest hits, the cheating years. The video, clips of her and Jake in our bedroom, screenshots of her disgusting messages, the recording of her saying she couldn't wait to divorce this loser, bank statements showing every dollar she stole, her entire dirty secret laid out for everyone to see. One of her coworkers gasped. Another burst out laughing. "Rachel!" she screamed. She yanked the USB out, but it was too late, because I had also sent copies to her boss, her landlord, every single one of her so-called friends. And just like that, Rachel lost her job, lost her last shred of dignity, and became the laughingstock of the entire town. The aftermath. Rachel tried one last time to reach out to me. She called from a new number, begging, "Daniel, please, I'm sorry I made a mistake. I lost everything." I listened. Then, just as she started sobbing, I said, "Good." And I hung up. I never heard from her again. 1 year later, my divorce, finalized, my kids, thriving, my life, better than ever. Rachel, she left town, no money, no family, no friends, just a woman who lost everything, all because she couldn't keep her legs closed. And me? I was finally free. Moral of the story? If you ever think about cheating, remember, some of us don't just walk away, Some of us make sure you pay for it, forever. The end.